Alrighty, friends, future emperors, jarls, and great khans of Calradia, welcome back to another of our Horse Archers Tactics episodes featuring a now veteran Khuzait force marching around Calradia looking for trouble. In this series, we'll explore different and difficult scenarios and seek to emulate Genghis Khan and the other great Mongol leaders as we frustrate and decimate our foes with a hail of arrows. Alright, so we'll siege this city here in Sturgeon territory and see if we can't get them to come out and play. We've got our horse archer army here, and as usual, it didn't take long at all. In fact, I saw some of their tracks, so I wondered if these guys would come back and attack us. Now, our army in this horse archer series is getting elite. We still have a bunch of these companions. We have like 6 of these low-level companions. They're moving up in the ranks, but we still have some of these badasses from the original campaign. Look at this gal. 330 bow skill, 332 hand, and 290 riding skill, right? She's basically a badass. This is her sister, right? She's almost as badass. We have about 6 or 7 elite companions, and we have 90 Khans guards, right? Our army here is starting to advance to a very powerful stage. Now, we've got some lower level troops here at the bottom, but we're fighting and winning so many battles that we're just upgrading our army in a blink of an eye, right? We're very quickly becoming a total juggernaut army. So this 1300, evidently, well, they got some more forces in here. It'll be interesting to see if they attack or if they deem us too powerful to attack. Now, they're definitely coming in for the kill, which is awesome. So with that said, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. This YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, especially advanced field command and tactics. And we'll play with normal player damage, of course, in this whole series. Actually, you know what? This battlefield is perfect. We will do, let's back out of this. We can just retreat, and we are going to do an RTS overhead view of this battle, right? We are going to show you savage Khuzait tactics here, a bit of a kill box with Khuzait forces using the RTS mod and this blimp mode. Now, I don't use this all the time, so it's kind of like how I speak French. En français, c'est vous préférez. I am not fluent. You know, I can speak a few sentences poorly, and we are going to try to use the RTS mod here with a degree of stability. Hopefully, I don't make you guys sick flying through the air here. I got to move some of these companions into the right division here. The 4th division is crossbow. I want this division to be able to square, and then for them to be almost entirely shields. Yeah, see, I'm having a hard time with the RTS mod. I want this division to be almost all shields. That way, if I need to, I can square this division, then they will be protected from cav charges. Now, I have 2 decent infantry divisions. I probably won't be using the 4th division as an infantry bait. In fact, we're probably just going to be kiting into a kill box here. But with the 6th division, and I see way too many archers in here as well. It's a mix of archers and infantry. Let's change this to all infantry. That way it can be skirmishers. And admittedly, we don't have a lot of skirmishers. I would love to have, 50 Battanian wildlings, probably my favorite infantry. But we will run with skirmishers in this division nevertheless. They've got an elite captain. We'll stick the rest of these companions on there. She's obviously potent as well. So the 6th division we will use to attack. The 1st division we will probably use to square and be defensive. That's our best, toughest spear infantry, very defensive infantry. Your Imperials, what is it? The legionary. And units like that. Now the 7th and 8th, of course, are going to be killing divisions. Those are horse archer divisions, and included in there is probably 80 to 100 Khans guards. Right? We have an elite horse archer, a couple horse archer divisions. They will be attacking. They will be strafing the enemy. And what we're effectively going to do here is shield with our 2nd and 3rd division. These are cav. You'd be surprised to learn if this is the first episode you've ever watched on our channel. I do not get very aggressive with our cav until the later stages of battle. Early on, yeah, I'm having a hard time with the RTS mod. Bear with me here, folks. They will be defensive. I'm trying to move it around so that it's not slow, but also not giving you guys seasickness. Now what we're going to do is use effectively what's called a crane formation, a pincher movement. This is Hannibal at Cannae. There's a dozen battles I can think of off the top of my head where this type of strategy is used. It is difficult. That's why we're using the RTS mod overhead. Incidentally, of course, we have previewed this. We have shown similar battles like this without the horse archers in other episodes. Basically, what we're going to try to do here is surround the enemy, get firing units attacking them from the side, right? Horse archers, skirmishers. We're going to split our archer divisions so that we're getting flanking fire, and we're going to annihilate these poor sturgeons. Now, their infantry vanguard is coming up, and unfortunately, it's kind of broken. I would assume that they're going to form a shield wall at some point, because if they don't, this is going to be a very quick battle. Now over here, I want you to notice I'm putting my cav, my second division, in a shield wall to block that side, to protect that side. On the left, we will use this third division. You see the enemy coming in. That third division of cav is purely defensive. Now the death spam has already started as our sharpshooters and whatnot fire into this advancing sturgeon force. Their archers are behind their infantry, and because of that, because they're further away, they're not going to be able to inflict much damage. Again, that third cav division, and it's obviously easy from up in the RTS mode. I can just move this second exactly to where I want it, protecting that those horse archers. The enemy cav probably will charge those horse archers, and that cav line there will break up their charge. All right, so in the middle, we're going to start kiting. Kiting is just the moving back of troops as the enemy approaches, right? While they're moving, other units are shooting the enemy. Now, another nasty thing we're going to start to do here is lead with the second cav. We're going to hold that line and protect our units from archeries, from their archers over there. And then eventually we're going to charge right the fuck through their archers. We're going to lead with that heavy cav line and then the horse archer line, right? It's going to be like straight on Mongols tactics. We're starting to actually get behind the enemy. You can see with our horse archers over here. And that cav line over there is really breaking up the enemy attack. I see them getting a few kills, but not very many, right? I see the enemy dying way more than our guys. Now, our skirmishers are doing their thing, but we want to continue to back them up, right? Otherwise, their vanguard will just destroy these units, right? So we're backing them up. We're kiting. On the far side there, that crossbow division is doing a pretty good job. They're staying out of harm's way. Now, look at this lineup. It's almost like a runway. Do you see their archers over there? Let me get these guys. Oh, shit. That's a UI problem. Sometimes it tells your units to charge when I actually told them to get back. Fortunately, the enemy's in a shield wall, so we'll be able to escape there. I get those guys settled. Now look at this runway. Any of you pilots out there, look at this. I can just run this heavy cav division with these two horse archer divisions right the fuck through their archer ranks, right? They have this long... In fact, this is perfect. This is like that Mongolian throat singing. This is absolutely perfect timing. Look at this. Our heavy cav gets told to go to the far end. I just want them running straight through the enemy archer ranks. And then we're going to... Okay, these guys are fine. We're going to follow it up now with these 120 horse archers here. In fact, let's slow-mo this, and I'm going to let the music play here as these guys just get medieval on these motherfuckers. We'll run them through here in slow mode. All these cons guards are now going to be trampling the enemy. Of course, they're still shooting. The heavy cav is leading, and what that does, of course, is it blocks a lot of the arrows that are being that are being shot at our units. Now it's time to charge with these horse archers, right? We'll actually tell them to hold fire and charge, and these guys are going to fucking cut down like half the enemy archers here. This is perfect. In fact, I'm going to shut the fuck up. You guys get the idea. I'm going to slow-mo this and just play the music. They get told to charge, and now it's time to cut these archers down. Of course, they're all getting knocked around. None of them can shoot. And back here, of course, our infantry has, well, one division's close, but we can kite with them. And as you can see there, that is just a destructive charge on their infantry or on their archers. Their archers are now badly diminished. Now we can go back to killing the rest of their vanguard, right? They got this, I don't know, it looks like about 150 infantry there. We're going to start to surround it here, and then we're going to swallow it up. We're going to attack it with all our divisions at once. I've got the 1st infantry. They can charge eventually. The 6th infantry, we can move them up. We're going to surround them and get some crossfire here with the horse archers. Basically, as these guys move into position, they might as well shoot them, right? We might as well get some archery skill here wound up. Again, we're not going to let them reach any of our units until our units are in place. You don't see them scoring many, if any, kills. In fact, I don't see any deaths. They're haplessly chasing our guys here. We'll move this 2nd and 3rd division back. Do a little bit more kiting here, right? There's still a lot of sturgeons there. If I charged it right now, in fact, there's a death. If I charged it, we might have 30, 40, 50 deaths, right? As their infantry wailed away on us. Might as well soften them up a little bit. The enemy's got a huge amount of reinforcements pouring behind us here, so we'll pull our horse archers a little bit out of harm's way there. It's accidentally charging those units. That's fine. We'll be able to recover from that. So we're going to start moving this infantry back to this side of the vanguard, and now we're going to start to surround this soon-to-be-dead sturgeon vanguard. The 2nd and 3rd division can start to be moved in at angles towards the center of them. The horse archers are running through here, still causing carnage, shooting them. And as all these units move into position, we might even swallow up this secondary. There's a whole separate vanguard here, so scratch that. We're going to continue to weaken these guys as they move in. A little bit more kiting. I'm going to wait until this 2nd whole wave of reinforcements is in here, and then we'll swallow them up too. So these infantry are basically twiddling their thumbs. They want to fight. These archers will move back. All of these units, of course, are waiting to get into battle. It's basically been a ranged assault so far. I've got 1 in infantry. That's the 6th division. Those guys are getting too close. Now, some of my units have bonuses that allow them to move faster. In this case, I'm going to square them because the enemy infantry is reaching them. We'll square them and have them move back. And as the enemy moves and surrounds this unit here, this unit in square, now it's time to start planning our surrounding and drowning attack here, right? We're going to attack this enemy from all different directions. And what I'm doing essentially is forming a big arc with our units around that enemy vanguard. You can see it's a big mishmash in there. That's probably 200-ish infantry. If you attack that one at a time or with like a couple divisions, they would take serious losses or maybe even be annihilated. We're going to completely swallow it up. You see them chasing our units up to the top. So as they're doing that, we start to move our other units behind them, right? This is the kill box, the 6th division. That's that square. We're just baiting them with that. And now everybody else moves in a big circle around the enemy. Now I can do this in the open field, playing from the field, but you guys can't really see this tactic. So we're using the RTS mod, and it's definitely easier, right? Because you can see clearly what's happening. Now the enemy's surrounded. F1, F3. Everybody kills them, right? And it's an all-out charge from every direction. And you talk savage, right? They're attacked from every direction. Archers, horse archers, heavy cav, infantry's wading in, crossbows wading in, archers are shooting them, and the kill ratio is like 40-1 or something insane. Okay. There's more dipshit sturgeons after we annihilated those 2 vanguards, right? That was basically a vanguard and a reinforcement block, and they all got eviscerated. It's just completely melted away. We'll now spread out our archers here, but we're starting to get kind of low on ammo, so it's time to plan our next diabolic attack, right? We're obviously going to work this archer division that they have down here that's shooting us. Of course, they were really out of that battle because of the kiting. They're shooting their arrows at like 200 units. And it's, you know, plicking our guys for 1 and 2 damage. It has virtually no effect. They got a few cav here sort of charging us, but it's of no consequence. Of course, now the enemy's down to middle and lower tier troops. In fact, I see recruits getting killed. This battle was already over, but we'll start moving units up in squares and shields. We'll move the cav, again, lining their archer, this big, long archer formation up along to run through it. And the reason we're doing that is to interrupt those archers. They do damage, they kill guys, but mostly you want to interrupt them. We have a whole series on cavalry tactics. In fact, one of our episodes covers this. The cav actually don't kill a lot, but what they do is they knock the shit out of archers. You can see we're just lining it up like it's a runway. And then I tell those guys, I want you to come all the way over here. That's 2 different cav divisions, the 2nd and the 3rd division. And then as they're scrambling, we will then charge them with all the other units, right? The 1st, the 4th, the 6th, and then the horse archer units, they can be told to charge as well. A lot of them are still shooting, but we might as well just get them into the fray as well, right? It's an F1, F3, with the exception of those 2 cav lines that are told to run directly through the enemy formations, right? That way none of their archers can shoot, or very few of them can shoot. And now the enemy's totally like in a frantic reforming. This is just an F1, F3 situation. It's one of those situations where F1, F3 is appropriate, right? F1, F3 at the start of the battle, then you need more tactics, right? You need to come to our channel. You need to come watch our intermediate tactics series so that you can get a death scroll that looks like this. Now, I'm sure I'll hear some people say in the comments, well, hey, you got high-level units and the enemy doesn't. That's true. But at the beginning of this battle, they sure as hell had Druzinic champions, Battanian fiend champs, and Sturgeon veteran infantry, and we immolated those waves with savage tactics. Now we're down to the back third or back quarter of their army, and of course it's recruits and mediocre units, and the slaughter is on, right? We got to this stage, though, where our units are almost completely undamaged by massacring their vanguard. And again, F1, F3, you can see this battle is over. In fact, we'll speed this shit up, hurry this shit along just to finish out this episode so we can get a final death tally. Khuzait is more fit than any of the other kingdoms to kite and killbox, although you could definitely do a killbox, and I will try to link the killbox at the end of this video. If you want to see a killbox, say you're playing Battania or Valandia and you don't have Khuzait units, I will highlight the video where you can play, where I will show you this same exact overhead type. In fact, it's against the Sturgeons on this same battlefield, using like all archers, all foot troops, skirmishers, and archers. You can see our lower level units here are leveling up right there. We win in that battle with units that have 140 bow skill and whatnot. And we had 3 deaths and 23 injured, right? A complete and utter destructive massacre. All right, take a few prisoners here. We'll wrap this episode up. Again, this is part of our Khuzait series. We're continuing to show tactics with our Khuzait. That's about as easy a battle as I can get. Even though we're outnumbered 2-1 here, we just absolutely trucked the enemy. Even if you F1, F3 this battle, you don't get these kind of results. In fact, it dawns on me this is another perfect example to show you what happens if you just F1, F3. We have a strong army, so we'll try to F1, F3. In fact, I will just do a little fancy editing right after this, and I'll have the F1, F3 of the exact same battle in a moment. All right, through the magic of editing here, we skipped that minute or two of preset up here. I had a save game not too far from this same battle, and now we'll give the AI a chance to fight this battle. Of course, we'll give it all the same troops here. We'll do all the same upgrades as the first episode. There might be very slight variations, but it's virtually the same battle. If I recall, there was these exact two same Sturgeon forces. We're outnumbered about 2-1 here with better quality troops, and we will do an F1, F3 battle. Whoops, I keep doing that. We don't want to attack. We want to do, I want to use the RTS mod. I apologize for that. So we're going to basically see what happens if you don't use tactics, right? What happens if you just play a sergeant in this battle and just let it go? Now, it's probably still going to win because of the quality of our troops, and horse archers actually on an autonomous level actually operate pretty well in Bannerlord. You can tell them to attack and they will circle and shoot some guys and do a decent job. But it'll be interesting to see how many losses they incur here, right? In the first battle, if I remember right, it was 3 and 25 or something like that. 3 dead and like 23 injured or some tiny number like that. We'll see how the AI does here using its rather clumsy charge command. Now, so far, so good. The horse archers are charging, but the infantry is way too close. You can just see that the allied infantry is already taking losses, right? They're charging up to that huge Sturgeon Zerg, and they're getting mauled, right? That's not a good recipe for success. You're hugely outnumbered there. That's just not going to work very well. Now, the allied forces here are also rather ignoring their archers, right? They have a little bit of horse archer support now starting to damage their archers. but there's no concerted effort to interrupt their archers, right? So their archers are firing away, and that's adding to the damage that the Allied forces, that the army I just controlled, it's adding to the losses they take here, right? The horse archers are whittling down the archers. In fact, there goes the first Sturgeon reinforcement wave. If you've never seen the RTS pop in like that, they just pour out of the ground. Sturgeon forces are now sort of converging on the Allied forces here. Of course, the horse archers will do an excellent job of just kiting, right? They're kiting on their own. They're kind of circling the enemy forces here. But the Allied non-horse archer forces are being swallowed up. You see them way too close to the enemy vanguard, and all of a sudden there's a big wave of red as those troops get devoured. In fact, there was a huge bunch of red right there as they got smashed. So that was just a huge wave of death. In fact, it looks like their archer division, their archer divisions got annihilated there, right? This is why you want to command your army. I'm not saying you're going to be out there like immediately like Alexander the Great or Frederick the Great or Thomas the Great or any of these other greats, right? These people just throw their name down with a great. The bottom line, though, is that if you have solid tactics, you will far outperform the AI. In this battle, it looks like the AI suffered at least 100 casualties in a battle where we suffered 25, 26. Obviously, it looks like they're still going to win. The Sturgeon forces are leaning towards routing. They're being pushed back to their reinforcement line. Again, some more losses here late in the battle, right? This was just not really part of that first battle here. So again, bottom line, tactics are necessary. A good kill box is hugely beneficial to your campaign. In a battle like this where it was much closer, say you didn't have such a strong army, you're going to lose this battle instead of win if you don't use tactics, right? This is, and we have shown that before on other episodes. I'm not making this episode a told you so episode. I'm trying to convince that last batch of holdouts who still think that F1, F3 or whatever and just run around is going to be successful. You may win the lopsided battles, but you're not going to win the close battles. Here you can see it looks like 235 total losses for the Allied forces in a battle where we lost like 26 or something like that. I'll have to go back and check, but it's close enough. We had something like 1/10 of the casualties of letting the AI do it. So you let the Tesla take the steering wheel, you put it under AI control, and it smashes you into a barrier, and you and your wife are killed. Right? I know that's a little melodramatic, but clearly the AI is not up to snuff. You can clearly outperform the AI in Bannerlord, and hopefully this is one more solid piece of evidence. All right, we'll wrap this episode up. I hope you enjoyed this overhead RTS view of this battle. Please subscribe if you want to see more, of course. Please comment and all that good stuff. I appreciate you fellas, and I will see you guys next time.